All right. So we talked about what sort of indicators we're seeing from companies in times right now. What sort of indicators are we getting from candidates that we might be working in an industry that could have some sort of effect from the nationwide recession?
Maybe it was just me. I don't know if everyone else had like the same kind of feeler. But I was talking to this one guy, and he was telling me, it doesn't seem like the right time for me to make a move right now. I really just want to stay with my company and just stick it out here, and don't feel that it's the right time to make a move in the middle of a recession. Yes, he called it.
This was like a year ago, or no, 9 months ago, or something like that.
No, maybe like 3-4 months ago. Yeah.
I think a lot of the developers working in like the
spring,
banking and finance industry, a lot of like hardcore mathematical statistical guys that do software and kind of do machine learning technology for like financial markets, those guys are definitely staying.
They're what?
They're staying firm. They're not leaving.
They're not leaving their companies.
Yeah, because they work directly for the financial world.
I was gonna say, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I was gonna say the opposite. I've been seeing a bunch of those guys lately. A bunch of those like quantitative analysts and like statistical machine learning guys, stuff like that.
Because they have
guys
been
at a
laid
higher
off.
level, like VPs coming out of financial institutions, on the market. They're just, seems like the higher level guys are getting cut first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So indicators you guys seen from candidate, people reluctant to make job changes. Are you guys hearing that across other markets? And for sure, it's got to be. It can't be because they're seeing something in our market. It's got to be because they're watching too much news, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guys in the financial industry, I totally get, and there's a ton of huge, a ton of huge stuff. We work in Seattle, WAMU right now. They're in big trouble. We'll see if they can pull out of it or not. I guess that's still way up in the air. But guys in that industry, sure. But I think anybody who's developing, anybody's working for the Microsoft, Yahoo, Google class companies of the world, are for sure just worried, either because they're in a small startup and they see the problems with picking up funding in some of those groups. That's definitely something that we haven't hit on hard enough. There probably is some genuine and legitimate concern there. But if you're at a relatively stable company, you're only nervous because you just need to turn off MSNBC, CNN for a while, and you'll feel better about the economy.
Was stable for a while until everyone there got laid off.
And that was everyone. There's 1,000 out of the what? How many people?
Realistically, Yahoo's still relatively stable. Their stock price has re-leveled itself to where it was pre-Microsoft bid. Really, they've just gone back to where they were.
And no one there's worried about losing their job. They're worried about maybe like stagnating their career by staying there, but they're for sure not worried about losing their job.
I agree with that.
No one's worried about getting fired.
I think the talk of the economy is worse than probably the economy itself. By and large, it kind of sucks to say, but a lot of people are sheep. You know what I mean? And if they hear, whatever the news is pumping out there, they're going to start nervous, and that'll either make them want to stay where they are and not look at any new decisions, or want to jump ship if they are working in a financial institution.
And maybe we're going to.
But there are problems. Gas prices have doubled, right?
Right.
Increased gas prices has made everything in the world more expensive, right? Because the transportation, the cost to get all this stuff to us is way pricier, right? Inflation has gone up. Go to the grocery store, everything used to be like $2-3, now everything's like $5-6. Right?
I think that's maybe where
mortgages are screwed.
We're not necessarily.
But I don't see the correlation yet. No one's saying like
well, the cost
I'm
of
living
living
in Santa
doubled,
Monica and I don't want to
salaries
work in
have
Pasadena because the gas is too expensive.
I was gonna ask you haven't heard people complain about gas prices yet?
That's
in relation to commute.
You know what? I haven't. I hear more just the commute itself, the time on the road, than the gas. You know what I mean? Of course it's getting expensive now, but that seems like it's still the main concern in LA. Is just how much time I have to spend on the 405.
I've heard people in the Bay Area. This might just be a Bay Area thing, but talking about the increase of their carbon footprint and wanting to minimize that.
Sure, Bay
Yeah. That's more of a green thing, I think, than an economic thing.
I was actually going to say, I think that right now we're still having the conversation as though inherently the troubles that the economy is experiencing, and nobody's going to doubt. There are people losing their houses, gas prices are through the roof. There's a lot of stuff that's not good right now.
Right.
I don't know if in the high value sectors, like where there's a lot, it's maybe like the highly skilled worker sector is maybe a good way to put it. I don't know if those problems have reached and actually caused a high amount of instability in that market. To say the economy isn't doing well right now is fair. There are a lot of things wrong with it. I don't know if that's actually reached the high value, the highly skilled employee job market. I think that's the correlation that we really haven't drawn the differences between. Anybody would be silly to say the economy's in great shape right now.
Right.
Some you can argue how bad it is, but it is what it is. I don't think any of us would sit here and say that it's really dramatically affected our desks in any way, shape, or form.
I
It just
think
hasn't-
it,
it just
I think it
hasn't
would
made
have
there
though
yet.
if we were placing people that were a little bit lower on the totem pole.
Yeah.
You know, the guys that we're placing are
The trouble is that America
Or a
still
little bit
needs
higher.
highly skilled, highly intelligent, highly talented software engineers.
I think the middle class is stable. I think it's not only the people that are lower on the totem pole financially and like skill wise, but the people that are much higher as well are getting affected because those are the guys that are also getting cut first.
I
Generally
can't say
speaking-
that I've even, generally speaking, that's the way it goes, but I can't say that I've seen that either.
We haven't seen it in our marketplace. In our marketplace, I think we've seen very, very minor, like, hints of potential problems that I think we're doing a pretty good job of like kind of accounting for, recognizing, and then helping educate our client candidate base or whatnot. But for sure, we're not affected. For sure, there are no less candidates. For sure, candidates are still willing to make job changes. For sure, companies are still hiring like agro right now. So
Yeah.
it's all still fine. But it's our job to be thinking about things 6 months in advance, a year in advance. Make sure our clients and candidates are prepared for any sort of problems that may come. So let's kind of turn the topic to, okay, if there is any sort of like, if there are problems in our marketplace, if there are kind of indicators that say these things might be occurring in the next 6 to 12 months, what should candidates and companies be doing to protect themselves? Let's start with companies. You're a company. There may be a potential storm on the horizon. What are you to be doing right now?
Making sure. I was just gonna say making sure the people
Say
that
cut costs.
Yeah.
I was gonna say making sure the people that you do bring on board, are gonna stick with you for the next 2 to 3 years. They're sticking with you for the long run. They're not just there to make they're not gonna leave in a year. They're not like rapidly just looking to change jobs. If they're there to stick with you and gonna be with you during the cold winter or whatever, then they'll come out on top at the end of the day.
So
too.
how do you do that besides just wanting to do that?
Well, I think just being a little bit more picky on who you hire. Being a little bit more careful, not just hiring anyone because you need to fill up your room of engineers, but being a little bit more safe about who you hire, being a little bit more pickier, and making sure that who you're hiring is the right person and is going to stay with you.
Cultivating a string like candidates, basically.
Offer really low salaries, with a big stock option component, and you can see who's there for the company,
Yeah.
who's there for the long haul, and who's there
So
for the
actual
Credit costs.
actual advice to a company. How do you do that? Right? How do you hire for the long term?
Yeah.
Gotta improve benefits, right? People stick around in companies because of benefits, because of culture. Focus on retention as well as on hiring.
Yeah.
And then golden handcuffs. I mean, it has a very negative connotation to it, but shit, it
works.
It works. But we've been able to not recruit a lot of people out of companies because they have golden handcuffs and they're very kind of honest and forthcoming about it. Their company did a very good job at locking them in.
Yeah.
Another thing, and I know a lot of companies did this earlier this year, but go out and raise a lot of money if you're a startup. Raise a lot more money than you need just to protect yourselves in the event that money dries up in a year, 2 years, 3 years. Plant your flag in the ground and say, we're here to stay and get more money.
I'd say for new startup companies that are just starting themselves and just trying to invent themselves, make sure you have a solid business plan. Make sure that you have something that is going to bring in some sort of financial money, some sort of cash flow, so that when money dries up, when VC money dries up, you have money in the bank to spend or to save whenever you need it.
Yeah. Another just quick kind of note on the topic of benefits. What are some cool benefits that you see people caring about these days? Besides the standards of medical, 401k, and insurances and stuff like that. What sort of things are people caring about that cause them to stick at a company
Can I just-
or join a company? Yeah.
Obviously, it's biased because it's a different kind of industry. In gaming, a lot of people care about the perks, like gym membership, about lunches provided, the little things. Definitely do mean a lot in the gaming industry.
That's for sure not just gaming. That's across the board.
I think that's something that's coming up, just with younger generations entering the workforce. They do kind of like those things, gym memberships and the extra perks, getting lunch catered and all that stuff. But I don't think that really is going to affect anyone making decisions based on where the economy is. I'm just going to say, oh, it's a bad economy now, so better go with a company instead of gym membership.
Right, but it's an extra if $50 a month you have to pay out of pocket, and the company's paying you $50 a month, or if they cover your cell phone bill, or if I don't know if you guys have seen companies doing this, but throwing in $100 a month gas allowance or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a small thing, but it kind of makes a big
If
makes
you're
a
teetering
difference.
on the line, they'll push you over
Yeah,
the edge.
yeah, and it'll I think cause people to question whether or not they should leave. Maybe another company won't offer those little niceties that'll add an extra couple $100 to your bottom line.
Right or wrong, and people still associate companies that do that with good company culture. I think it can be totally confused, but I think people look at that, and maybe even from just a hiring perspective, people will look, oh, they offer these things, they must have a good company culture. I think it's almost kind of somewhat
They
automatic.
care about us, right?
Exactly.
They care about us not only at work but outside of work.
Yeah, I think a lot of those things, just in addition though to getting the people on board, it probably adds productivity too. You know, you give free gym memberships, people are going to be healthier. You know what I mean? People are going to be taking less sick days, things like that.
That's right.
You cater lunches, people aren't going to be leaving the office, and it all comes down to, you know, at least a little bit of increased productivity.
Another
I
big
like
thing,
that.
another
You
big
like
thing
that?
that I'd say, if you're a company, focus on not only building your product and like making money, but focus on training your employees. Because I know a lot of you know people that work for companies these days aren't necessarily in it to see the company do phenomenally well. They care about that, but they care most about the skills they're gaining at their current job. So focus on training, focus on improving the skills of the people that you're employing. On that note, we'll transition to candidates.